All right. My name is Pete Breton. I'm the Senior Director of Customer and Product Marketing here at NinjaOne. We've got Sherry Barnett on the product marketing team as well as a big portion of our product management team, Gavin Stone, who leads our core mainline product, RMM and endpoint management, Chris Williams, who leads up patching, Rahul Hirani, who leads the product management team, and Matt Hastings, who will be leading our identity and access management and security products. Is that correct? Yeah, close enough. Okay. So those are our presenters for today. I promise we will be doing minimal slides today. We're going to spend as much time as possible in the product showing you these new features. But before we jump into those, I wanted to give you a high-level overview of this release. So this release is, in my opinion, one of the biggest and most impactful releases we've had in a long time. Just in terms of major feature enhancements or new features, we've got about 30 that we're delivering to you in this release. And that's on top of, bug fixes and minor enhancements and things that just aren't worth the marketing time to talk about, but are really impactful to you from a user experience perspective. Not only that, this is a very customer-driven release. We're going to look at some features here, like our software package repository that had 900 to 1,000 requests in our public roadmap to deliver on. Some of the conditions we have here that we're releasing in this update had hundreds of requests. Almost everything in here was driven by what you have identified as a pain point and wanted fixed, or new features that you wanted, or new capabilities that you needed. And because of that, we're really proud to say that this is probably our most customer-driven release ever. One thing that we do also want to highlight is this is probably our biggest release in terms of our core product, RMM and endpoint management. We've got a ton of big features here that are going to move the needle for you in terms of visibility and automation. And we're really excited about that because all of our customers are using that core product and we want to deliver value there first. As I mentioned, I think it's over 30 total like major features, but over 24 that are significantly impactful in terms of how you do your work and how you get value for the product. And I should have updated this last slide, but this is now available in all of our regions. So it's been available in APAC and EMEA for a little bit now, and as of last night, it is available in US. So if you haven't logged into Ninja today, you'll see everything that we show you today in your environment. And so with that, we can jump into what's actually included in the release. This is a long list. I'm not going to read all of them. But I did want to show off, these are just major features. As I said, I haven't even included sort of bug fix or minor user experience improvements or, a litany of other small things. These are just major enhancements. So we're going to talk today about our software package repository, dynamic script forms, and our device search grid first. Then we're going to jump into our patching dashboard and the ability to search by CVE in our patching views. And then we're going to jump into end user SSO and end user roles, all of which are major asks from all of you. So we want to make sure we cover those. Christine, if you could actually launch our poll, we have a whole bunch of other features here as well, and we may have time at the end to jump into a few of them. So if you don't mind, go ahead and vote on what else you'd like to see. And if we have time, we'll jump into those as well. But I do want to call your attention to a few other things. Policies by location. If you're a longtime user, you know that that's something that has been requested over and over again. We are delivering on that in this release. The ability to search on minor software versions. Again, it's a small pain point, but it's something that we've been asked to do for a long time, and we're delivering here. We're delivering a bunch of new conditions, significant upgrades to our documentation capabilities. Our Mac file and folder backup product is going GA, as well as adding NTFS permissions to our backup solution, which has been a blocker for some of our customers adopting backup. And then you'll notice here at the bottom, we have our Android and iOS MDM product going into closed beta as of yesterday. So if you haven't heard, we are bringing an MDM product to market, and that is in closed beta. If you're an existing customer, you can reach out to your account manager, and we can actually turn that on for you, and you can try that out. And we'd encourage you to do so because we're looking for additional people to try that out. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sherry, who will introduce our first feature of the day.
Yeah. So the first one that we're going to be looking at, and I'll just describe it a little bit and then turn it over to Gavin, is the software package repository. So this lets technicians bundle together all the actions, helper files, and configurations needed to execute complex software installation workflows into a nice, neat, reusable package that you can name, add an icon to if you want to, and then store in the NinjaOne automation library. With this capability, even less experienced techs can pull a software installation package from the library and run that installation in a policy as a scheduled task, or even ad hoc, ensuring a standardized installation workflow. And since this one is one of those that you got to see in order to understand it really well, I'm going to turn it over to product lead Gavin Stone.
Sherry, thank you very much. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So I'm really pleased to be putting this forward to everyone today, and I'm really pleased it's in the 5.4 release. The first thing that I want to talk about before we talk about software installations is automations, because those of you who've been into 5.4 will have seen that we've made some changes to how we word things in the product. So you'll see in our library here, for example, we now have automations instead of scripting. And this represents the direction that Ninja is going with its automation. And automation can be something like a script, but it can also be something like an installation, which is what we're about to go into. So you'll see changes around the product where we've renamed scripting to automation, and you'll see that on the device page as well when I show you this running. So if we go to the add button here, you'll see some new options on the right-hand side that are bundled into app automation. One is installation, which I'm going to show to you. So I'm not going to take this through the entire process of creating one from scratch, but I'm going to draw your attention to some of the things that you can do in here that unlock some of that power that Sherry was talking about. And so we can give the app a name and a description. The description here helps when you are running this or building up your orchestrations within Ninja to describe exactly what this is doing. And you'll see when we come to run this, that this description is available and helps you maybe give you some additional context into the app that you're seeing in the automation list. We can target this at the moment at Windows and Mac, and we're supporting the standard Mac installers, MSI and EXE. So I'll just choose Windows for that one. You can target specific architectures if you want, 64-bit or 32-bit. And we have two options here. We have the option to upload a file, which will allow you to upload something up to 1 gig, or you can utilize a URL. Now, when you submit an application into Ninja, it actually goes through a security scan in the background to make sure that what is being uploaded isn't malicious, just as an extra layer of security for you. We can categorize these now. You can have one or more categories associated with these, and these help when you're filtering in the product. And you can choose to run it as system, current logged on user, or any of your preferred stored credentials. We have parameters still in here, which work in the same way that they do all over Ninja, and you can add those in there. Some of the really exciting stuff is in the additional settings tab. We can upload up to 5 helper files now of up to 100 meg each, and they will sit in the folder that your installation gets delivered to when you run the automation on the devices. As Sherry alluded to before, we can use a custom icon in Ninja, and this helps when you're going through the library. This doesn't go down to the device, but it is how this represents in Ninja. And you can choose to run a pre or a post script. So these run before or after your installation. That could be, say, you're installing like a VPN client. You may have a post script there to set up the VPN profile after you've done the app installation. I'm going to go into a preformed auto installation for you just to show you what it's like. I'm going to filter using our new filters for the top just to the install installations, and I'm going to go into Chrome Enterprise. So you can see what this looks like when it's been submitted and filled out, and you can see like the icon that we've added in here. Let me show you what this looks like when you actually run it. If I come to one of my machines and I choose Run Automation up here, this alludes to the name change I was talking about before. Then we choose Install Application. This will filter straight down just to your installable applications. You can select your installation. You can choose what you want to run it as, and you can choose run. And then that will send that to install on that particular device. You can put these in many different places. So you can put them inside our scheduled tasks. You can put them inside scheduled scripts. You can queue these up as part of a condition. So let me just illustrate that just to show you what that looks like. So for example, we can come into the conditions in our policy. We can choose the software condition here. We can say that if our software doesn't exist, so let's just do, say, let's just do Google Chrome. Hit enter on that. And when this condition triggers, because the application's missing, we can then queue into our Google Chrome installation. And you can build up really strong automations based on that. The other area I just want to talk about, and I alluded to it before, was you will see in the automation part of this a tab for under review. I've got a purposely failed one in here. If any of your automations that whether you upload via a URL or whether you upload via directly into Ninja, and they will be scanned securely, and we will fail them if they are found to be malicious. And this is the tab they go into. So when you upload things, it may take a couple of minutes just in the back end for us to make that scan. Once they have passed, they will promote themselves into automations, and you can use them as if you would any other scheduled script. So that's our software package repository.
Hey, Kevin,
pass back to you.
There's a question that came up that I would just want to answer really quick, and it was sort of, how is this different than what we currently have? And I think it's worth pointing out a couple things. One is, when you upload these installers, they stay in the automation library forever. So you don't have to upload them each time for each policy or each scheduled script. That's one. Two would be the ability to provide more customization and more complex installations via helper files and pre and post scripts. Is there anything else that you would call out as a major difference between this and the current or the previous software installation process?
I think you touched perfectly on it, Peter, which is the ability to orchestrate these from anywhere within Ninja, whether it's a scheduled task or a scheduled script. You're not limited to just having this inside of a policy. It can be used anywhere in the app as part of your automation. The helper files, as you mentioned, as well as the pre and post script options, are all brand new to this feature, and the additional layer of security for scanning what's been uploaded as well are all brand new to this product.
Awesome, thank you. Sherry, you're on mute.
Let's move on now that I can actually be heard. So the next feature that we wanted to talk about is dynamic script forms. When Gavin first described this to me, I said, oh, they're script buddies. And I still keep calling them that, but they're actually called dynamic script forms. And they allow technicians to extract automation script variables and parameters out of a script and into a form that actually sits next to the script code. So by simply filling out the values in the form, that defines every variable in the script. So any technician can run a customized script at the point of deployment without having to touch the PowerShell or batch or whatever code. This helps standardize deployment, reduces error, and enables techs of all skill levels to deploy automation scripts, which is pretty cool. And this one you really have to see how cool it is. So Gavin, take it away.
Thank you, Sherry, and we're back. Okay, so I'm back in our automation library here. Before I talk about dynamic script forms, I want to just talk about how when I started at Ninja, this is one of the first things that I wanted to build, and it had a lot of requests from some of our existing clients and some of our potential clients as well, who wanted the ability to make it easy to run scripts without having to fumble about with parameters or have people attempt to understand complex code. So as Sherry said, you have to see this to believe it. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm gonna come into a brand new script just to show you the additional area that's now here. you'll see on the right-hand side that we have an area called script variables. And if we click add on here, you'll see that these variables are actually strongly typed. And what that means is when you run this script, it will prompt you with a dynamic form that is built up of all of the script variables that you've added into here that relate to controls relation to the type that you've chosen. So if you've chosen string or text, you'll get a box. If you've chosen checkbox, you'll get a tickable box. If you choose date or date time, you'll get a date time picker, or drop down will allow you to build up a drop down selection. And I'll demonstrate some of those in a second. So you can come into any of these variable types and you can build them up. So if we just call this script variable 1, we'll give it a test description. Now the description is an important part of this, because as you'll see when we go to run this, you can hover over and get some additional information about what's expected to be filled in for this variable. You can mark some of these as mandatory, and when you run the script, you will see that the UI forces you to fill this in before it accepts the running of the scripts. And we can set default values. Let me show you what this looks like in a fully built out script. So this is a script that will, a simple script to build a local user, but it has some additional logic in here to generate a password and store it in a custom field, and also enable and disable the user based on a certain time and based on the amount of days. So you can see the ones that we've done here down the right-hand side. I'm going to show you just what this looks like when we run it, because it illustrates this beautifully. So let's come into here. Let's filter that down to scripts. So you can see now, based on the values that are added into the script variables in the script, we're now being prompted to fill in this information. You can see the mandatory ones are marked with a star. And if I attempt to run this, it will tell me that I need to fill these in because they're marked as mandatory. If when people are running these, they may need some more information, maybe you've got a specific standard that you use for your users, you can include it in the description, and then that description is available to you when you hover over the eye. You can also see some examples of our checkbox here, which renders a checkbox or a date and time. So if I wanted to just create a local user here, and I'm just going to fill this in with some random information, we'll say enable it tomorrow, disable it automatically after 30 days, and make it a local admin. So that's going to issue in the background. One thing you'll notice here immediately, and this was added in so you could easily debug these. If I come into here, you can see how this is being added, and what the values are Ninja is sending to the script are that you've chosen. And if I quickly just pivot back to the actual script that we're running here. You can see how these are referenced. When they get sent in, they're referenced with an environment variable like this. And you can see the name that's used based on this top right-hand corner. Or you can use, and if I just come down to the bottom of this just to illustrate, our control space options. And this will prompt and fill these in for you automatically if you click them. This is supported for Mac, Windows, and Linux, and all the languages that we support in Ninja. So this is completely cross-platform. And depending on your script type, it will choose the appropriate code to insert those variables for you, and you can then handle them how you want in the script. So now we can see that that's completed, it's generated, and that script ran as normal. What I really want to talk about here is some of the examples of where you can use this, because I think it helps unlock its power. And I've got some, I went through this morning and put together some of these based on some work that we're doing that I'll allude to in a second. So imagine being able to generate a URL or a link to an executable desktop shortcut across all of your devices in Ninja. So you can run the script against one or multiple devices, name the shortcut, put a URL in, maybe tick the box to create the shortcut for all users. Simply run that and your shortcut creates. Or maybe you want to utilize a branded pop-up. Put your pop-up message in the pop-up message box. The application ID determines the title. You can even customize the buttons, set a default button, maybe even set a custom action on those buttons so you can do custom things. We used to, for those who don't know, I used to be the CTO for an MSP based in the UK. We utilized this type of functionality when I worked there to send out notifications about statuses. So maybe you knew that Microsoft was having a problem. We'd push out these branded notifications and the users would get to see them. You can customize the logo in here as well, and you can even set the icon. This is where the default value comes in, because maybe you have the icon that you want to use here on all of the machines that you support. You can set that as a default value and it will automatically fill in every time. Maybe you have complex settings that you need to change. They could be power and sleep settings, and you need to present them in a way that makes sense. You can see our drop down here and some of the checkboxes as examples, or even reset a user password, whether that's a local user or a domain user. Maybe you could create a VPN. This is doing a really interesting thing, which is it's actually pulling the values from a documentation template that exists in Ninja documentation. So by running this, if you've populated, say, the remote access portion of your Ninja documentation, it will pull those values out and utilize them to generate the actual Windows VPN. And if you type in some of these additional boxes, it will overwrite those values and override the template. And the last example here is utilize it to run something like winget. So choose your action, which in this case is install, uninstall, or upgrade. And pick a package based on the name in the winget repository. Tell it to install winget if necessary, and away it goes. So hopefully some of those are some good ideas that get you thinking about how you can utilize this in your own environment. And I'm really pleased to say that now that 5.4 has gone into North America, all of the scripts that you've seen there given as examples will be coming in the next couple of weeks into our script template library, which is great news. So yeah, I'll pass back to you, Pete.
Yeah, awesome, Gavin. Thanks so much for going through that. I'm sure we're going to have lots of questions at the end on that. I do want to reiterate something Gavin said, because I saw this a lot. The scripts that he just went through, those use cases, will be available, not today, but will be available, you said, in the next few weeks, so that you can check those out. I know some people are asking for them, so that makes it easy. Awesome. Let's move on to the next feature. The next feature is our device search grid. I really like to think of this not as the device search grid, but sort of as operational reporting. So filterable, customizable, hands-on operational reporting for devices in NinjaOne. This is a great upgrade for Ninja because it allows you to see and take action on your devices at scale in a much more customizable, hands-on way that puts the data and information you want in front of you in exactly the way that you want it. So Rahul Hirani, our SVP of product, actually led this initiative, and I'm going to hand it over to him to walk you through it.
Hey, good morning. Let me pull up my screen here. So we've been working on this for over a year at this point. We've gotten so many requests to improve our reporting. We had some deficiencies, admittedly, around your ability to get information out of our product. The refrain that I heard over and over was, I see the data here. It's all over the place. It's really wonderful data, but it takes so long for me to click through devices and pull this data out manually. Alternatively, if I go to the current device search, I have difficulties getting exactly what I want out of it, because my two options are export device details or export custom fields, and I don't need all of this information, or maybe I want some fraction of it or something thereof. And so myself and a small development team have been working on reporting nonstop for over a year at this point. And as Pete said, there is customer-facing reporting that you're probably used to within our product, which historically has lived under administration. And then there's operational reporting for your technicians to just get the information they want out of our product very quickly. And for that, we have redone device search. So when you log in today, if you're in North America, you will have already seen this if you're in Europe or Oceania, Asia Pacific. But for North America, you'll log in today and you'll see something a little bit different about your device search. And as you poke around here, what you'll notice is this little gear here for table settings is one of the powerful new additions that we have here. From this gear, you'll be able to add in both native device columns, as well as have access to almost all of your custom fields, excluding attachment custom fields, multi-line. I think there might be one other, like multi-select in here, for you to be able to add in, I think with a total of 20, which we may expand over time after we get more performance profiling around this. And in addition to that, let's just say, aesthetically, I don't really like the fact that this is stacked. I want to see this more as a spreadsheet. So what I can do is unstack this, make maybe some selections around device sorting or, any other kind of changes regarding things like column ordering here. And when I save this, I'll see all of that information just here within one screen. You'll have to forgive the blank values here. I've got a lot of sample data floating around. But from here, as you will notice, I can hover over each row and certain values will turn blue. So from an operational standpoint, I can click in and just go directly to this device, this organization, this location, or if I have policy or role on here as well, I could go ahead and jump into, sorry, continue to go back with Chrome here, but I can jump into each one of these entities and very quickly inspect or pull additional information out of here. You still have access to all of your filters. And in fact, we've added a few more in here that you may notice over time. And as we have built this out and added new filters, what you'll notice on a release by release basis going forward is that we're incrementally adding to these. So at the moment, you may not see, for example, processor as a available column, but I'm already testing and have that ready for deployment in our very next release, as I do with memory, BIOS version. But without getting too far ahead of myself, you'll continue to see more and more columns pop in here, including some of those custom fields that I mentioned that are not currently included, like multi-line custom fields will gradually make their way onto here. Some other things that are worth mentioning are when you save this now as a group. So let me go ahead and just add a location here and say sample group 1, 2, 3 and save this. This information was relevant as I was saving this group for whatever reason. This could be an important group that you tell other technicians to check in on later. And those other technicians, let's just pop back into here and maybe mess with these columns a little bit. Those other technicians may not have this same view that you happen to have at the moment that you save that group. But when they pull it up, sample group 1, 2, 3, it comes complete with all of the columns and therefore all of the context that you had when you saved this group that you thought were valuable for, again, operational reporting practices. So that's, in my opinion, an important addition that we wanted to throw in here. So from going forward, groups that you save or save over will contain the column setup that was present at the time that you saved them. The last thing that I wanted to call attention to here is we've added a new option in here, export visible columns. Historically, as I was mentioning, we have export with all device details, which is just the kitchen sink of everything we have regarding the device, or export with custom fields, which is just the opposite on the custom field side. Export visible columns will give me just the columns that I have here for just the devices that, meet these filter criteria. So if this looks interesting, I'm happy to say this is now generally available for all regions. And as I said earlier, we'll continue to add new columns and new filters to this over time.
Awesome. Thank you, Rahul. I'm super excited about this feature. I think it adds so much power to all of our capabilities here in Ninja. So next, we're going to move over to our patching updates. Many of you may have already seen these updates as we have thousands of people in the beta, but this is now generally available. So Chris is going to go over our patching dashboard and the ability to search by CVE. Our patching dashboard, the primary value here for you is this should be your operational dashboard again for everything patching. It's supposed to give you that 500-foot view of what's going on in your environment from a patching perspective, and at the same time be an operational dashboard that your techs can drill into and make changes and improvements to your security. So off to you, Chris. Let's check it out.
All right. Hi, everyone. So yeah, Pete wasn't joking when he said that the OS patching dashboard preview set Ninja records with the number of people that asked for early access. We had thousands and thousands and thousands of people ask for access. And with our 5.4 release, as Pete mentioned, the OS patching dashboard is now available to everyone. So the dashboard, it's conveniently accessible here under patching, under OS, and then you go to overview. From here, you can see quickly at a glance the overall patching health of your environment. So this dashboard includes all devices with OS patching enabled, including Windows, Linux, and Mac devices. And if you want to filter by a particular operating system, you can do so here and see which operating systems that you care about. You can also filter the dashboard to show just workstations. You can have it show just servers. If you want, you can also, I think I saw in the chat, somebody was talking about they have issues with offline devices showing up and they want to filter those out. Within the dashboard here, you can do that. You can show just devices that are online, just devices that are offline if you want to. Or you can filter by default. We have it set to show devices that have been online in the last 30 days, but you can customize that as well. And so then I want to get into some of these widgets here. I won't go into all of them, but I do want to talk through at least a couple of them. On the left, you can see your overall patching compliance. So this percentage here reflects the total number of devices that are fully patched. Again, this is for devices that have patching enabled. So that is something to keep in mind. Below that, you can also see the number of devices that might have issues worth investigating, such as failed scans, no scans, the device enablement as well. That is a metric that we help you track. And then on the next widget over here in the middle, I can see the overall state of patches for my environment. I can see that I have a lot of pending patches waiting for my approval. I can quickly click into this if I want and see what those patches are. And actually, while I am on this screen, I know, Pete, you mentioned CVE search. I also saw somebody asking about it in the chat, or it was in the poll. I think 12% of you said that you're interested in CVE search. We are adding a quick filter option by CVE to all our patching dashboard grids here. So if I want to, I can type in CVE, I can type in a number. I can also type in, if I wanted, I can see, I have a 368. There is no 368 visible here, but if I drill into this update, I can see that it has a number of CVEs associated with it, including some that start with 36889. So it will allow you to search, drill down, even if you can't see visibly the CVE on there. But going back to the dashboard, I also next want to highlight the device count by OS version widget. So we often see older versions of an OS still lingering in our environments, likely in your environments as well. And we want to help you identify those devices in your environment, really to help you reduce the risk to your networks. So here I can see that I have a couple devices still on the previous release of Windows 10. It's on the 21H2 release for Windows 10. If I want to, I can figure out what's going on with those devices. I can also see, moving on to another widget here, I can see devices with the most approved and pending patches waiting to be installed. And so I can see of those pending patches that this one is probably taking up most of them. And then down below that we have more widgets for devices with failed patches. We have a widget for common errors that might be happening within your environment, so you can troubleshoot those. I can click into each of these. I don't have the data here, but I could click into those as well to show you which device. You can drill down specifically into that device and see what's happening there. Again, the goal with this dashboard, and Pete touched on it, is really to help you surface the information that's most important to you to help you build out a healthy, fully patched environment. And we will continue to enhance this dashboard in future NinjaOne releases. Raul talked about additional search filters coming. We are adding nearly a dozen search filters for patching coming up in a future Ninja release. And we will be tying a lot of the dashboard items here to those new search filters. So be looking to that in an upcoming release, and then we'll continue enhancing this as we go on. So with that, thank you, and I will hand it off directly to Matt to talk about end user roles in SSO.
Hey everybody, thanks Chris. So I'm going to talk today about end user roles and SSO. And to Pete's point earlier in the presentation, this was really driven by feedback from you all. So we received a number of pieces of feedback looking for ways to improve the overall end user authentication and setup experience. And we've started delivering those. And I'll talk a little bit more about where we're even going to go with this in the 5.4 update. So here on my screen, you can see I'm looking at the end users tab. I'm going to go ahead and just filter for an end user that I've already created. Shocking, this person's name is Matt. So if I click on it, it's going to look very similar to what you've experienced historically or what you've seen today. But if we go over here into the security tab, if I could click it, you now have the authentication type where you can change between native and single sign-on. So before, all end users were authenticating through our native process, meaning they had a NinjaOne password to access the application. However, now with single sign-on, this is going to match the option we have with system administrators and technicians today, meaning we can integrate with the configured SSO provider that you already integrated with NinjaOne so that all of your end users can then log in through the single sign-on provider. This eliminates the need for them to know a separate password and overall just provides a much more seamless authentication experience for your end users. Second, I'm going to talk about end user roles. This is a way, specifically as you set up your end users and you want to give them permissions throughout the app to make that a repeatable and less error-prone process. So similar to how you have roles for technicians, you can also have roles now for end users. And so the way that you can add them here to a single user is I can go in and add a role. I can give them full portal access. I'm going to add this to this user. At this point, you'll see that the other individual permissions go away because they're now assigned this role. To create a role, you can go back out here, discard these changes, and you just go into end user roles and follow a very similar workflow to what currently exists for technicians. So this is really just scoped to the end user. And so as I mentioned earlier, like these features are all part of a much larger, user experience effort that we have going on. So what you're going to see coming from us and kind of building on top of these features today is additional integrations like with Skim to do provisioning for end users and overall user experience into the platform. So I'm going to tease that a little bit. That'll be coming out in beta later this year or early next year. But we're really excited about these features to make the end user experience more efficient and easier to get started. So to wrap us up, I'm going to pass this back off to Pete.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I do want to recognize that there's some chatter in chat about issues reaching the Ninja server. We're in the middle of a webinar. I can't help right now, but I do just want to acknowledge it that we see it because, I don't want to just pretend it's not happening. So we will get on that. I want to share some slides really quick because that's what a marketing person does when there's a problem. All right, so next steps here. If you're a current customer, I would encourage you to go and check out the release blog on ninjaone.com/blog. We do go through all of these features, and all of the PMs that you've seen today, I believe, have done videos on their features that are in the blog post. If you want to go back and do a quick walkthrough just of their features, this recording will be sent out as well, so you'll have access to that. And then also we do have our release notes in the NinjaOne Dojo as always. So if you want to dig into more detail, see that kind of step-by-step walkthrough of how to use each feature, you can check out those release notes as well. Last but not least, before we get to Q&A, we have a PlayStation 5.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pete. Hey, everyone. I'm Christine. I'm our marketing programs manager here at NinjaOne. And I always like to say I do the fun stuff. So I'll try to keep it super short and sweet so we can get to all your questions. The winner of this PS5 is, drumroll please, Ashton Schmidt. Congratulations, Ashton. If everyone wants to pop in the chat and say a huge congratulations, be on the lookout for an email from us and we'll get that out to you. Back to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. We are now going to, I'm going to stop sharing, bring our faces up here, and we're going to try to pivot into some questions here. I'll go through these as they're appropriate and hand them out to the PMs, and we'll go from there. So let's see. Wondering if the ticketing system will get a major overhaul. Any updates to ticketing that we're aware of? Rahul, anything you can talk about at a high level there?
Major overhaul is a tough way of putting it, but we are on an ongoing basis working on UI, usability, and functional improvements. I think there are quite a few things mentioned in the release brief. I don't think we have anything like massive and structural plan for that product. I think we're planning on just continuing to chip away at usability, rough edges, sand away rough edges, I should say.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Wouter's got a question about the new device view. If you click on the top left checkbox to select all devices, I can no longer perform any actions on those devices. If I only select the first page, I have all actions.
Yeah, that is I would say a thing that I'm working on. So it's a very fair point. You can select, I believe it's 150. Forgive me, I'm using, yeah, it's 150 devices per page on the new device search. So if you select all the devices on a given page, we can very quickly evaluate, have you only selected Windows machines, in which case certain scripts are appropriate and others are not. But if you select, for example, like 1,100 devices or 11,000 devices that go across multiple pages, I believe we default to the only option is maintenance mode. I'm changing that so that we'll quickly evaluate, regardless of how many devices you have, whether it's 60 or 60,000, what types of devices you've selected, and only show you the appropriate options. But at the moment, we have not done that. One very quick way to get access to that functionality would be to use tasks, would be, if you're trying to run scripts around or on a broad set of devices. If for whatever reason that's difficult for you, please get in touch with me. We can talk about for example, there's a reversion we can do on the device search that we're maintaining just briefly while we get that piece of functionality into place. But I'm hoping to resolve that in the coming release.
Awesome. Thank you, Rahul. I have a question, I think, to pitch to Chris now. And the specific question is, is there the ability to patch on a specific month, date, time? But I think we can expand that out to, are there any intentions to change or improve scheduling within patching in particular?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So we did release updates to scheduling with the 5.3.9 release, so the prior release. We allowed you there's now the option to schedule around a specific day of the month, like Patch Tuesday. You can say, I want to patch 2 days after Patch Tuesday or 2 days after the second Tuesday of the month. There are other changes that we're working on, some of which I can talk through because they're in development. Others will come a little bit later, but one in particular that might interest this group that we are working on is the ability to delay an approval of a patch, to have it automatically approve after a certain number of days. I know that's been highly requested within the community. I've talked with a lot of users that have asked for this. So that is something that's in development that will be coming here in a later release. I'm not going to give an exact date just yet, but it's in development now. So it'll be coming soon.
I can't take you guys seriously because of chat. Thank you for that answer, Chris. This one actually, I think, is a good pitch to you, Gavin. There's a question here about having multiple conditions having to trigger for an automation to trigger. So any plans for updates or improvements to the overall condition framework that are coming up?
So we're considering exactly that scenario for something that we're designing at the moment that we're calling compound conditions, which means that multiple conditions of a certain type have to trigger. So you'll be able to say, if this is a server and its manufacturer is Dell and this script has this output, only then trigger those automations. So we're working on that at the moment, and we're also going to be working on the future, how we can better order the automations that we're running as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. I'm super excited for that. I think the next one here will be, there are a lot of questions about MDM, and so I would just want to address it at a high level. So as of today, both iOS and Android MDM have entered closed beta. What that means is our product manager is still frontline support. We're onboarding people who are willing to test it, even if there may be some challenges with the product. The full feature set is not yet available, but we do have single pane device management for iOS and Android devices as of today. If you're an existing customer, you can reach out to your account manager and request that be turned on. You'll be onboarded. You can add devices and you can try it out. We've got features like configuration management, app deployment, remote lock wipe. It'll be added to your inventory. There is I believe right now, compliance tracking, like are you in compliance or not? And it does support both BYOD and corporate owned devices. That's about the depth I can provide right now. But our hope is to continue to develop and add new features and functionality, more stability, more capabilities through our release. My recommendation, if you are interested, would be to reach out to your account manager, ask to be onboarded. We are actively looking for additional participants. We have, plenty of customers on it, but we're looking for more. So if you are interested, please reach out to your account manager. But I won't go into more depth of that right now. Awesome. Anyone else see any big questions we want to call out? Gravity zone integration. Rahul, do you have any update on where that sits?
It is still in beta. We're working through, I think, 3 major pieces of feedback that we've gotten over time. Displaying active threats, ensuring that if you enable more products on the Gravity Zone side, that they are automatically enabled on the Ninja side as well. And there's one last one. All 3 should be in an upcoming release, after which we'll reboot the beta. Until then, we've kind of throttled it to the extent that we're only adding a couple customers, I think, on a weekly basis now. So expect more news on that towards the end of the year.
Awesome, thank you. There were a couple questions here about scripts and examples that were shared throughout. Gavin mentioned this, but it may have been lost. All of the examples he went through in the dynamic script form section will be available in our automation library. If you haven't seen it, I think it's currently called, well, it was called template library. I think now it's called automation library. It's under the library section of administration. Check back in a couple of weeks and you'll see many, if not all of those there. All right. Can automation be delegated only to certain users? I think I'll hand that off to Matt.
Actually, I'm going to hand that back to Gavin.
Exciting times. So at the moment, our scripts, the permissions on scripts, which is what the install automations are treated as in the automation library, are based on category at the moment.
Awesome, thank you. So then realistically, you could just restrict someone to having no access, correct?
I'd have to check, but yes.
Okay. That was a soft yes, just in case anyone's wondering, that's a soft yes. All right. Will we be able to search via keywords in patching? I think that's for you, Chris.
Search by keywords in patching. So we can, within the patching pages themselves, you can already search by certain words. I'm assuming this is likely referring to the device search page then, because what I'm referring to, and I can share my screen if I want, but this is something, whatever I showed the CVE searching, you can just type in a patch name, you can type in a CVE name, you can type in a KB number, so that's already there within the search page itself. The device search, you can already search by certain patches, and so I guess I'm not quite sure what the question is asking. But we don't
have more context, so I think that's fine. Yes, you can search. You would use the patching grid to find that information. Chromebook support, Rahul, I think I'll pass that back over to you.
You mentioned MDM earlier, so we're starting with mobile device management focused on Android, iOS, iPad OS, and then a bunch of other like tvOS. Afterwards, we have intentions of moving into Mac. And thereafter, we will probably start looking at Chrome. So at a release, I would say you'd hear some news from us in 2024.
Awesome. Thank you, Rahul. I'm trying to read through all these here really quick.
There was a question about whether we support direct chat to users now. And
yeah, Rahul, that's you again.
Yeah.
Direct chat to users, no, not yet. Also, I mean, you guys are very consistent here. So we've been talking about this internally for the better part of a year. I would say it's on our roadmap at this point, but focus is currently elsewhere. We will probably start looking at that at the beginning of next year. And if development does begin, it'll be much later in the year.
There is
Awesome.
a direct chat in remote, however,
Yeah, and our remote access
in
solutions
our
like
remote
Teams,
access
Flash those.
solution. Yeah.
Yep. There's one here for you, Chris. When is software patching coming to the dashboard?
So that it is coming, but it's not going to be this year. We have a number of changes that we're making to software patching because and I will address this because I see a lot of people talking about Office 365 in the chat as well. We are making significant changes to our third-party software patch engine. Here right now, it's been in development for a few months. We will have more to share on that very soon. But I can't say too much yet other than we are making significant changes that will help with the speed of updates being available to your environment. It will help with the stability of updates. It will also help with scan times. Our scan times are much improved as well on that. So we are working on that first, and then we're going to come back and revisit getting software patching into the dashboard. Regarding Office 365, just because I see a number of people talking about that, we are aware of two issues around Office 365. One of them, we've seen a number of our customers, they have mismatched patching channels, update channels with Office 365, where some app might be an enterprise channel, another app might be like a monthly current channel. That is causing some patches to fail. Our support team, if you reach out to our support team, they've been working with customers individually to get that fixed within your environment. There is one other issue that we're aware of that is on Ninja side with our agent. We do have a bug where the agent isn't always detecting a reboot is needed after Office 365 updates are installed. So we report the update as failed, even though it's really just pending a reboot. To the agent, it hasn't installed yet until that reboot is done, but the agent doesn't realize that a reboot is needed. So that we do have a bug fix for that here coming soon. But we are aware of both of those issues. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, reach out to support because we want to make sure that we've identified all the users that are having this problem.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. I've got one last question here. I think we have time for, and then we will wrap up. I know that there are probably 100 questions here that we haven't been able to get to. You guys had a lot of them, and we do appreciate your participation and engagement. But I'm going to pass this last one to Matt here, and that's, can we set up multiple SSO providers? And then separate question, but on the same topic, does the end user SSO does that still work if they don't have MFA set up on their SSO side?
I can answer these questions. I'm not going to pass this one to Gavin. So the first answer is no. Today we have a limit on the SSO integrations to 1. That is something we've heard from users as consistent feedback, and something that we have started to take a look at. No commitments on delivery yet, but definitely have heard your voices out there. So think of that as something that we are actively evaluating. And then in terms of MFA on the SSO side, so NinjaOne MFA will still be required for end users who are going through SSO. So if they do not have MFA on the SSO provider and you can still authenticate through them, it still should work. However, they will be setting up an MFA method within NinjaOne itself. So things like hardware device keys or the authenticator app. So they will be doing multi-factor authentication, even if that's not enabled on the SSO provider.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you, Sherry, Gavin, Matt, Chris, and Rahul for all of the great information today. If you have questions that weren't answered today, please reach out to your account manager. If you are a current customer, please go check out all these new features, try them out, and give us some feedback. And if you're not a current customer, please go sign up for a trial, check them out. They're all be available to you in your trial account. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.